Well, if you're like me and you love PCs, well then you love trash picking PCs. And the other night, I found 3 towers all together lying on the side of the road. So let's see what I found. The first one here says Compact Presario on it, which right off the bat doesn't excite me. I see an Intel Celeron D CPU, 256 megabytes of RAM, and a Windows XP Home Edition sticker. Nothing all that exciting. I'd already pulled the heatsink off, hoping beyond hope that perhaps they had upgraded the CPU with something better. And in typical socket 478 fashion, the CPU ripped out of its socket with the heatsink. But I put it back in after scraping it off to see what it was. And unfortunately, it is indeed. Let's see if we can get a focus on that. A Celeron D. No fun, that's for sure. Get that glare off there. Anyhow. Indeed, a 256 megabyte stick of DDR. Completely useless. I mean, I don't deal in anything less than 1 gigabyte sticks. USB card of some sort. I don't even know if it's USB 3.0. I'm assuming it would be. But actually, it looks like it's probably USB 2.0. Junk. The only thing that might be useful, perhaps for an older Pentium 4, would be the Cooler Master heatsink and fan. About the only decent aftermarket part. Socket 478 board, I suppose, could come in handy if my Pentium 4 machine ever dies. We've got an exhaust fan there. A high pro power supply, which might be half decent, but I won't ever use it. It'll go in the trash. As far as optical drives, I can't see what's in there, but it says DVD-ROM combo, so it's not even a DVD writer, but it'll go in the pile of optical drives, the pile that seems to get bigger. The second machine is a white box build of some sort, utilizing an Athlon XP. Again, not much use to me. I don't deal in AMD per se. Not that I have anything against them. I just always use Intel, and I only use, obviously, Intel CPUs for my Pentium project. So this won't be any good for me. The case would make a fantastic server case. There's plenty of drive bays here, but they didn't include the side panel, so that idea is out. Beside that, it doesn't have any SATA ports anyhow. There's a modem in there, some piece of garbage power supply, Nokia. I'm not familiar with them. They could be good, but I highly doubt it. The exhaust fan's been jerry-rigged, so that's no good to me. We have no RAM in the sockets, so that's no good. 2 optical drives. One's just a CD writer. I don't even think it has DVD capabilities. In fact, it probably doesn't, because a DVD-ROM was added to it at some point. The weird part is they're separated. I don't know why they would have done it that way. Have an expansion cover here, one here. That would irritate me, but whatever. People do weird stuff with their PCs. In fact, these were actually kind of beaten up, I think, before they were thrown out to the curb. The hard drives I managed to harvest. We have a Seagate OEM drive of some kind, which means it doesn't tell me what size it is, and I'm not smart enough to go by the cylinders, heads, and sectors and quickly figure it out. So I'll have to throw it in a test rig and find out. It doesn't say. It's probably a 20 gig drive of some kind. ST3100, I don't know. Whatever. Not that interesting, because I usually prefer, Western Digital, 160 gigabytes. Certainly something worth testing and setting aside for one of my older machines. Not bad. 8 megabyte cache. What else we got here? Another Seagate Barracuda, 80 gigabytes. It's 7,200 RPM, so that's certainly useful. Speeding up an older machine. I wonder how many RPM is the Western Digital. Does it say on there? It doesn't say, which usually means it would be a 5,400 RPM drive. Oh well, whatever. Moving along. Anybody remember Maxter? We have a Maxter drive, Diamond Max plus 8. I've got a ton of these things sitting in a drawer. 40 gigabytes, ATA 133. Decent for a Windows XP box, or perhaps an older Linux box. I'm sure Debian 8 or something would install just fine there. And other than that, this is all junk. I have no use for anything in this machine at all. Well, maybe we'll have better luck on the third one. What do we got on the front here? Windows Vista, Intel Celeron inside. Another compact Presario. Whoever threw these out must have loved their compacts. This one here is a socket 775, I believe, judging by the heatsink, and the fact that this one actually has SATA ports on it. And it's one of those combo boards very similar to my Core 2 Duo, in that it has both SATA ports as well as traditional parallel ATA ports, so you can use one or the other, or presumably both. Actually, it looks like it's only got a single parallel ATA port and then a floppy port there. 2 RAM slots with room for 2 more. Cost cutting, I don't know how much money a company actually saves when they omit things like extra RAM slots. I mean, do they save that kind of money? I don't know. I didn't bother taking the CPU off. I'm going to assume that there's a Celeron D under there. Once again, no RAM. Looks like a modem or something there. Yeah, it's definitely a modem. Nothing useful, really. And this would actually be a half-decent server board, which I could use. But the fact of the matter is, if you look, this is a BTX form factor, meaning I can't use this board for anything unless I want to keep it in this case, which I don't. And the other problem is, much like a lot of these OEM type machines, whether it's Hewlett Packard or Compaq or whoever, there's no airflow in these boxes. I mean, there's nowhere to put a front intake fan, and with all the cages and everything else they like to cram in here, there's just absolutely no airflow at all. So yeah, that's it. Didn't have too much luck with the Trashpickin this time. Well, we do have a Lightscribe optical drive, which some people make a big deal about finding. I don't even really know what Lightscribe does. I've never used it myself. I think it has something to do with labeling the top of a, well, obviously CD. Well, no, this one writes DVD. Okay, so if you want to put a label on your DVD, I suppose. I never cared for it, but yeah, that's my Trashpickins.